What's up guys, LeopoldTheBrave here, and today we have an exciting video. I'm going to be predicting the entire story of Tekken 8. Now I've done story predictions for Tekken 8 before, but it was mostly just guessing specific plot points and the ending and the setup for Tekken 9. This video is just going to be an entire detailed run through of how I think the story is going to go based on the information we have so far. And, spoiler warning, that information includes leaks. I'm giving you a very fair warning. There have been leaks that have been proven accurate for this game, and I will be mentioning some of them for this video. I'm just letting you all know now so you can leave before any surprises are ruined for you. I'm not here for 15 seconds of fame. There are just certain characters I feel would be extremely necessary to this plot who haven't been formally announced yet. So, with that said, if you're still here and don't mind the spoilers, let's begin the plot of Tekken 8. The Prologue and Chapter 1. I could see either or both these things opening up as the tutorial. Either there's going to be a dream sequence where Jin is going through his fight with Kazuya in his mind, or he and Lars are sparring to get Jin back up to speed since he was in a coma for pretty much all of Tekken 7. Or they could do both, having the dream sequence be the tutorial for the basic controls and then the sparring with Lars be the tutorial for the heat system. Their sparring session gets interrupted, however, by, spoiler warning, Li Chaolan entering the room and letting them know that Elisa, who was receiving upgrades, is complete. Jin then spars with the new and improved Elisa too for more training and of course as a tutorial for the rage system. With training and upgrades complete, Jin, Lars, and Elisa set out for their next objective, while Lee stays behind with the rebel army to keep track of G Corporation and Kazuya's moves. Chapter 2. As we take a peek at Kazuya's next moves, we see that he is testing out the new and improved Jak 8, to make sure an army of those can get the job done. When he's satisfied with the results, he tracks down Nina Williams and sends the Jak 8 after her, both as a test for the Jak 8 and a test for Nina Williams to see if she's worthy of controlling his G Corporation forces. Going back to Jin and the gang, and we see their next objective is building an army of their own, like Kazuya. Characters like Shaheen and Leroy are recruited for their known hatred of the Mishimas and their determination to bring them down. They run into Hwoarang too, who's happy just to see Jin so he can get his rematch. But before they can even get started, they're interrupted by Lee, who calls to inform them that Kazuya is headed to New York with his own army to do something horrible. Hwoarang forces himself into the group just so he won't lose track of Jin again, but then becomes fully on board as well once he learns all the information. Chapter 3. We reach New York to see it's already in shambles. Kazuya is wreaking havoc on the city. When the UN, who are already trying to fight off Kazuya, sees Jin and the gang arrive, they decide they have to go after Jin as well, based off his past actions, not knowing his current intentions. This includes characters like Raven and a new character, Victor, a French secret agent. The scuffle between Jin and the gang and the UN catches the attention of Kazuya, who seizes the opportunity to sick his Jak 8s and Nina on them, trying to overwhelm them. Jin's gang is full of tough fighters though, who can hold their own pretty easily, which would allow Jin a chance to slip past and head straight to Kazuya for a one-on-one. And this is the New York battle that we've been seeing advertised in trailers. I assume it's going to be their first confrontation of the game. In this first battle, I feel like Jin will get the upper hand, with his new and controlled Devil Gene powers catching Kazuya off guard. Mid-fight, however, both Jin and Kazuya begin to feel a mysterious presence calling out to them. Both are distracted, but Kazuya quickly realizes this is a chance for him to turn things around, and he punishes Jin hard, who was still distracted. He knocks Jin unconscious and sends him flying into the ocean. He's about to go towards him, but the presence is calling even harder, and Kazuya, not wanting anything to do with this presence, decides to retreat for now. New York is his anyways. He already accomplished his goal. Jin showing up was just a surprise. Chapter 4. The battle in New York brings awareness to the whole world that Jun Kazama is still alive, which attracts the attention of a third party to the story, Claudio and Xiaoyu. These two are working together simply to locate Jin. While Claudio's original intentions were to completely exorcise and eliminate the Devil Gene, those plans had completely changed after Heihachi betrayed him and his organization, causing many members to flee. With his entire organization down to almost nothing, and Xiaoyu's undying trust in Jin, Claudio's new mission is to simply monitor Jin and make sure his powers are under control, promising not to harm him for Xiaoyu. And now, thanks to the battle in New York, Claudio and Xiaoyu know that Jin is not only alive and well, but they also know who he was with, Lars and the rebel army, so they decide to head there. Along the way, they come across Zafina, who is headed towards the same place. So remember Azazel in Tekken 6? We all assume Jin defeated him. However, that was only Azazel's physical form. As a spirit, he managed to survive. Luckily, Zafina was there, and she was able to seal Azazel's spirit in her body before he could resurface and do more harm. But with the battle between Jin and Kazuya resuming, Azazel's spirit within Zafina is becoming stronger and stronger. With Claudio's exorcism expertise, Zafina sees him as a perfect ally for aiding her in stopping Jin and Kazuya from fighting. Chapter 5. We check back in on Lars and the rebel army, and it's getting a bit hectic as there's lots of infighting. Some members believe Jin died and failed them, some believe Jin ran away, fled, and betrayed them. But of course there's hopeful ones too, trying to keep the peace, like Lars, Li, and Huarong, who are sure that Jin's alive and are positive that he'll come through for them. That peace only lasts a second though, as when Claudio, Xiaoyu, and Zafina arrive with the information about Azazel, a majority of the rebellion turns against Jin, figuring they gotta put him down in order to stop him and Kazuya from fighting. Seeing how riled up the rebellion was getting, the higher-ups had to change their strategy. Li puts on a disguise and sneaks into the G-Corp force as a spy, gathering information from the inside. This explains his new outfit with the helmet that we see in the leaked roster. Meanwhile, Claudio helps Xiaoyu sneak out and steal a boat from G-Corp's search party for Jin, so she can go looking herself. And Lars and Elisa are staying put right where they are to try and keep the rebellion spirits up and keep their eyes on the goal. Chapter 6. We finally return to Jin as he washes up on the shores of Yakushima, a mysterious island. A much larger dose of the presence he felt before awakens him and he stumbles to his feet, so he can start following and eventually find the presence that he was feeling. As he arrives to what surprisingly appears to be his birthplace and childhood home, he is suddenly attacked by a mysterious woman, a new character named Reina. She'll be explained shortly. She's a fun and playful fighter, but Jin sees her as nothing but an annoyance and a distraction from what he's trying to find. In order to end the fight quickly, he attempts to use his Devil Gene powers, but the presence grows increasingly strong, even causing him pain. The fight ends as the presence prevents Jin from using his powers and reveals itself to be his own mother, Jun Kazama. Seeing Jin's complete shock, Jun decides to waste no time explaining, and without hesitation tells Jin what I believe to be the whole story. After the King of Iron Fist Tournament 2, Jun refused to believe that Kazuya had died. She had always believed that he was out there and alive somewhere, and it was her intention to save him from the Devil Gene that was plaguing him. But she didn't have the strength to do anything about it, plus she had Jin to raise. She was raising Jin up and training him how to fight so he could one day help her rescue Kazuya. But when Ogre showed up, a wrench was thrown into her plans. She orders Jin to go and find Heihachi, not only so Jin could be safe, but also so Jin could potentially find and save Kazuya himself, since he does have that pure Kazama blood. But she made a slight miscalculation, not realizing that Jin had also inherited Kazuya's Devil Gene as well. Essentially, her plans went very wrong, and she decided it would be best for her to stay hidden and train some more until she became strong enough to cleanse both Jin and Kazuya. It would have taken even longer, but thanks to Heihachi sharing his life story with the reporter in Tekken 7, who would share it with the world, she was able to discover Reina, another illegitimate child of Heihachi, similar to Lars. Finding, befriending, and training with Reina to get that Mishima experience allowed Jun to get to the point she needed to be at a lot quicker, and she decided now was the time to make herself known. Upon hearing this, Jin finds it a bit ridiculous that the Mishima bloodline could ever be redeemed or saved, especially considering the atrocities he himself committed. And he even holds a bit of anger towards Jun for staying hidden for so long when he needed her and missed her so badly, but ultimately the joy of being with her again overpowers those negative emotions and he decides to attempt to learn her way. Chapter 7. Undercover, Lee has discovered where the Jack 8s are being built, and he informs Lars so he and the rebellion army can come and take care of it. Nina steps in to defend the facility and even gains the upper hand, but eventually gets called off by Kazuya, who sends her on a new mission, as he discovered one of his squads got taken out and had their boat stolen. Unfortunately for Xiaoyu, the little thief behind the boat hijacking, G-Corp has the ability to track all their vehicles, so Nina, along with an army of Jack 7s, were sent to follow Xiaoyu. Raven and Victor attempt to intercept the Jack army and stop them, but are only able to distract and keep Nina away, leaving the Jack army to continue following Xiaoyu alone, with no leadership or orders beyond eliminate Jin Kazama on sight. Chapter 8. Back on the island, Jin and Jun are performing a ritual, an intense meditation and healing session where Jin looks inwards and faces his inner demons. This is what I believe that abstract stage we saw in Raven's reveal was for, where we saw Jin's Tekken 6 boss arena, or where we saw that desert with the giant hands and chains. Jin is going through an intense journey of self-discovery and acceptance, and he cannot be interrupted. At this time, however, Xiaoyu shows up to the island, with an army of Jack 7s following not too far behind. Reina, of course, is playing guard dog and preventing anyone from entering and interrupting Jin and Jun's session. As Reina and Xiaoyu are fighting, the army of Jack 7s appears, and the two decide they have to work together to stop them, explaining everything in the process. The battle against the Jacks ends just as Jin and Jun complete their session. And as soon as Jin awakens and sees the carnage along with his exhausted and beaten friends, he nearly loses all the progress he just made in his session, blinded by anger that Kazuya had found and attacked them. He decides he's wasted enough time on this island and tries to head out to face Kazuya. But one more stands in his way, his mother Jun, who believes 1, Jin isn't ready to face Kazuya, and 2, that killing Kazuya is not the way to fix things. Jin, however, who is blinded by anger and his desire to redeem himself, has to fight off his own mother in order to leave. Chapter 9. Thanks to the Jack 7s having a surveillance system, Kazuya was able to observe the feed and see everything that just went down. Seeing that Jin was on his way and discovering that Jun was still alive and could pose another threat to his plans to dominate the world, Kazuya becomes more furious than ever before, and begins preparing to finish things. Jin and Kazuya's rapidly growing rage and conflict begins to worsen Zafina's condition, as Azazel becomes closer to breaking out. Upon realizing how dire the situation is, all the infighting within the rebel army stops, and everyone works together with the common goal of keeping Kazuya and Jin from fighting. Lee drops his disguise and spy act and attempts to stall Kazuya for time, fighting off G-Corp soldiers and Nina, and the entire rest of the rebellion heads to the shore and takes out the G-Corp soldiers stationed there so they can be the ones to intercept Jin. As Lee is fading, Victor and Raven jump in to assist, helping stall Kazuya. And as Jin is approaching the shore, Hwoarang kicks him mid-flight and forces Jin to fight him and settle their score as a distraction. Chapter 10. Jin and Kazuya both grow increasingly furious with each other's distractions. They decide to transform and finish things quickly so they can get to each other as soon as possible, Jin escaping the rebellion army and Kazuya escaping the UN. Meanwhile, Jun, Xiaoyu, and Reina have taken the boat that Xiaoyu stole and are headed back to the shore so they can stop Jin and Kazuya. As for the UN and the rebellion, they've changed objectives. Since they can no longer stop Jin and Kazuya from fighting, they've decided to head back to Zafina's location to help her fend off Azazel. Jin and Kazuya's fight is intense and pushes Kazuya to his limits, forcing him into his true devil form. This, however, simply pushes Jin to his limits and he discovers his own true devil form. At this point, it's too late. With this rise of power and rage, Azazel finally breaks free from Zafina. The monster resurrects and everyone tries to stop it, but to no use. The entire world itself is in danger. Chapter 11. Jin and Kazuya finally notice Azazel rampaging through the city. If he isn't stopped, he's going to eventually destroy the entire planet. Jin realizes how foolish, selfish, and wrong he had been and wants to stop the fight with Kazuya to take on Azazel. Kazuya, however, sees this as an opportunity to gain the upper hand on Jin, using Azazel as a distraction. Jin is trying to fight Azazel while fending off Kazuya, while Kazuya is trying to fight Jin and Azazel. Eventually, their uncoordinated attacks and conflict leading to both of them getting knocked out by the monster. Fortunately, around this time, Jun, Xiaoyu, and Reina finally arrive, Jun's presence helping to awaken Jin and Kazuya much quicker. Jin is incredibly remorseful and begs for his mother's forgiveness and guidance, which of course she gives without hesitation. The solution to this problem is the obvious one. Jin and Kazuya must work together to stop Azazel and end this war once and for all. Kazuya is disgusted by the idea, but with him being outnumbered at this point, especially with Jun's purification powers, he decides it's the best option too. Chapter 12. As Jin and Kazuya work together to fight Azazel, Xiaoyu and Reina are evacuating the city, while Jun is looking for injured survivors and members of the rebellion to heal and take care of. After a very long and intense battle full of many phases and transformations, Jin and Kazuya are finally able to succeed in defeating Azazel, destroying his physical form once more. But like before, his spirit still remained. However, Jun, with her purification powers combined with Claudio and his exorcism expertise, they're able to fully and properly seal and eliminate Azazel once and for all, his body destroyed and his spirit wiped from existence. With Azazel defeated and the world truly saved, Jin and Kazuya appear to have cleared their names in the eyes of the public around the world. However, despite their previous agreement, in the eyes of both Jin and Kazuya, their fight isn't over. Chapter 13. Like Heihachi and Kazuya in Tekken 7, Jin and Kazuya decide to settle things once and for all. No more army, no more war, just a one-on-one, man-to-man battle to the bitter end. Jun of course has her concerns, but they're quickly put to rest when Jin looks at her and promises that he's learned a lot and that he'll put an end to this cycle. Jin and Kazuya head out to a secluded location where no bystanders will be harmed by their fight. And harnessing the purification powers he learned from his mother, Jin prevents Kazuya and himself from using the Devil Gene during their fight. It's just them. And due to Kazuya relying on the Devil Gene to be as powerful as he is, while Jin has built up his own strength, Jin is able to come out on top. Jin doesn't end Kazuya's life, however. He carries Kazuya's unconscious body to Jun, so she can cleanse and remove the Devil Gene from his spirit once and for all. He can never use it to hurt anyone ever again. Jin has the option to get rid of the Devil Gene in himself too, but shockingly refuses. Jin no longer views the Devil Gene as a curse, or as a power to take over and control like Kazuya did. He now simply accepts it as another part of him, a tool he can use to defend the world from other threats like Azazel. Chapter 14, and Epilogue. Lars and the Rebellion dissolve G Corporation and the Mishima Zaibatsu. The world will go back to normal and will no longer be controlled by these giant corporations. There will be a secret council behind the scenes who make sure no one gets out of control. But it'll be full of good-hearted people, like Lars, Elisa, Lee, Raven, and Victor. Hwoarang and Jin were offered positions, but both refused. Hwoarang simply because it's not his style, and Jin because he believes he still has a lot of cleaning up to do. Only now he no longer has to do it alone. He has family like Jun, Reina, and even Kazuya, friends like Hwoarang and Claudio, and maybe someone who's even a little more, like Xiaoyu. All that's left to do now is to keep moving forward. And that's my prediction for the story of Tekken 8. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys next time. I hope you enjoyed. LeopoldTheBrave, out.